Hello everybody, welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with me, your host Jay. Today is my panel by panel comic review. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Before we get too deep into the video, guys, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button and the subscribe button as well so you never miss any of my nearly daily comic book content across all platforms. I have a TikTok, Instagram, and of course my YouTube channel if you are here watching this. Now let's go ahead and get it started with the indie books. Coming in at last place out of 6 total indie books that I have to talk about, we have Murder Podcast. This is issue number 8. Now before I get into the book, I just want to say this was a fantastic series from start to end. The first ever book to come out from Ignition Press. Very, very impressive. I mean, the letter at the back was really heartfelt. And no matter what, I'm always going to be grateful for this title, for introducing me to Ignition Press. Just how great of a publisher they are, how consistently good their books are, no matter what it is. I know I didn't like their most recent issue one that they came out with in Minotaur, but typically I end up picking up an issue 2 on every single one of their books. Now, to get into the issue, this one has Mina and the gang going to where the podcast has been shaping up and how it has been transporting into people's ears. We never get a reveal of the villain, but the action from Mina and her friends getting absolutely whooped by these, I guess, cosplayers or people under the spell of the podcast. They were actually whooping them pretty damn bad, and it ended up with Blythe and all her friends, or Mina and all her friends, having to stay behind while she went and dealt with the big boss by herself. They ended up getting into a fight. She stabbed her own ears so that she couldn't hear the podcast and go evil. They had these whatever it's called, noise removing, or basically they couldn't hear anything on the outside once they had these headphones in. She fought them, defeated the villain. She shot him a couple times, and then she talks to the creator of the podcast that people listen to that goes by the name of Gina Kyle. We were introduced to her either last issue or a couple issues ago. She asked for her to kill her. Mina's a little hesitant, but she understands she has to do it in order to stop this from going viral, from going across the whole world. And she shoots and kills her, and the day is saved. But is the podcast going to come back? I don't know. It was a fun little cliffhanger, but this was the finale issue, and I don't assume that they're going to make another volume of this. Now, even though it does come in at the bottom, this is still a solid B for me. Murder Podcast, it just happens to come in a week where indies were absolutely on top of everything. It was a fantastic week. Unfortunately, Murder Podcast comes in at 6th and last place. But coming in at 5th, a bit of a surprise for me, I have The Ring, The Man Who Beat the Man. This is issue number 2, 32 pages for $5. We started off with this little Western throwback where we had these two men fighting in not even a ring, just back in the day. And don't know why it was there, don't know why it's relevant. But then we go back to modern day, and we have the two reporters that we've come to know. And they start to interview this Frenchman who wears his purple, has this sculpture that called the monstrosity. Come to learn, he didn't actually want to be a boxer. He wanted to be a sculptor, but his mom was trying to put him into ballet because it was her passion, and he didn't actually feel the same way. He hated the sport so much, or ballet, whatever you want to call it. And then we also jump in between to another story going on at the same time with this Terrence guy, and he's being recruited by this evil boxing promoter, or you can say he's evil, but he's pretty dang evil. His name is, the fighter's name is Ramon. The guy that is trying to recruit him is Mr. Moretti. And we learn his story, how he came to America from Havana, escaped captivity, escaped the terrible life that was there, and he might get a shot to fight the champion potentially in the next issue. Then to go back to the Frenchman, we learned that he had a crush on this girl, and because of her also liking him back, when he's walking home, he gets jumped by this guy, this bully, and he beats him to a pulp, and he gets help from this one policeman who teaches him how to fight, and he gives that same treatment back to the bully, but then everybody looks at him as a savage. The girl that he had a crush on no longer has a crush on him. She thinks that he's insane, and Ramon is sparring with one of Mr. Moretti's guys, knocks him out after they have a good little bit of trash talk back and forth. And it looks like in next issue, we're going to get Ramon fighting potentially for the championship. And it looks really cool. I grew accustomed to the character. I wanted to learn more about the Frenchman because his story was really, really sad. Kind of depressing, but Gail Simone might have a hit on her hands here. She's got me for another issue. The Ring comes in at 5th place and is a solid B+ comic book this new comic book week. Next, coming in at 4th place, we have Rockefellers, issue number 13, part 3 of 4 of Who Are the Unbelievables. This issue was really good by Peter J. Tomasi. 32 pages for $5. This has Tommy the $1 trillion kid going to recruit the Rockefellers. And when he gets there, they're pretty skittish because they don't think anybody knows who they are or anybody knows their identity. But of course, Tommy does because he's been stalking them for forever. And when they see Sterling, they kind of start freaking out, probably because of past trauma with the I guess Machination War or whatever it was called, where the machines try to take over. Anyways, he did a scan of the entire house and that drove Sterling mad, started going crazy, but it was mainly due to Richie kind of instigating it. He's a bit on edge. He's still frustrated because he lost his dad, trying to see if these people can bring his dad back because Hornsby and Halo transform into their demon and heaven angel or whatever you want to say, and he thinks that they can tell him whether his dad is alive or dead. They try to go to purgatory. They get declined because they think the guy that runs that place has them on their bad side. Anyways, the book continues. The Rockefeller mom says that she remembers Tommy's parents slipping a note into them. They didn't think anything of it. The story continues and Sterling breaks out and he starts going crazy, and that seems to be where the finale from this Who Are the Unbelievables arc is going to go in the $1 trillion Kid issue number 2. Now, this was a solid book from the Rockefellers. I love all the characters here. You really do feel for Richie in this, and also the grandpa. He's funny, but he's also really, really annoying at the same time. You do feel for Richie. Richie was definitely the star in this book for me personally. Rockefellers comes in at 4th place and is a B+. Can't wait for the finale of Who Are the Unbelievables. Next, kicking off the top 3 for the indies, we have Arcadia issue number 6, the finale to this story arc. And I just want to say, the music that paired with this book, because you're allowed to scan a QR code right down here in the bottom corner. And it's not necessary, you don't have to do it, but for me personally, it truly enhanced this book to an all-time high. And this book follows Fix and Halu trying to find their way to the lost city of Arcadia. Halu really wants to do it. Fix is a little more hesitant. They are getting trapped down by these alien creatures that have kind of ruled society for some time after it's gone into an apocalyptic war. They go through the city. They get into this huge robot that they start to control with their neuronator or whatever it's called, the little head device that can remember memories. They remember the pilot of this person's robotic machine. They remember the memories of it anyways. They beat all the aliens / monsters, and then they continue their race to Arcadia. But before they got there, these bikers that have been kind of chasing them down, they catch up to them. They use the neuronatant. They see their memories, and the leader of this group starts to go crazy because he's been having his wife, who was been long overtaken by the disease that has infiltrated this world. He's had her next to him the entire time, brings her in for a hug because he remembers the sad times or whatever, whenever he actually stabbed her and potentially killed her, and she ends up ripping his throat open. Fix and Halu go on the run. They get out of there, killing a couple people. And whenever they show up to the lost city of Arcadia, they find this little robot that was on the cover. And he's like, well, I was supposed to be going with Mr. Rook, but he's not here because you say he's dead. And follow me and I will guide you to immortality. But there's a quick issue. One of the main characters may be becoming infected. This was fantastic, really emotional, had me on the verge of tears. I'm not even going to lie. This is a fantastic book, my favorite book from Ignition Press. That's why I feel so strongly for Murder Podcast, because it introduced me to this publisher. And this is one of their best books. My opinion, the best book going from that publisher. Arcadia, for me personally, is an A- book this week. It's unfortunate that it comes in a week where there were so many great books. And even better than Arcadia, in my opinion, is the second book, G.I. Joe, issue number 24. This was really good because you learned so much from the character of Risk after he's having this battle with Crystal Ball, and we learn Crystal Ball's origins of finding the energon that was left in Badikistan. And they have a fight. Rook and him are going back and forth. Meanwhile, Baroness and Destro are trying to escape from the layers of Crystal Ball while getting their allies out of there as well. The team up was actually pretty good, but this was probably the best part of the book, this little 6-panel page here where Risk is telling him his backstory, saying things like, people think I took on the name of Risk because I'm some kind of thrill seeker. My bosses thought I had a death wish, but no, I took that name because I am the Risk. That was absolutely fantastic. Absolute aura, so much aura gained by Risk. But the fight continued, and Baroness and Destro and Risk, they're all trying to get out of there. Meanwhile, Crystal Ball is like, what have you done? And the whole place goes kablooey, and Crystal Ball gets kept captive by the G.I. Joes. Baroness and Destro have a good little stare down at each other, and they go their separate ways because they are on a mutual understanding that we just want to make it out of here. But Destro did get out of there with the Dire Tech and brings that back to Cobra Commander to be on his good side. And then General Hawk has a little talk with Crystal Ball, but seems like General Hawk slash who actually is General Hawk or Colonel Hawk, something really bad happens in that interrogation room. You're gonna have to read this to find out. The cliffhanger was fantastic. Can't wait for the next issue because it is going to be the 25th anniversary issue. G.I. Joe still, issue 24 was an A comic book for me personally, but it wasn't my top pick for the indies. That instead goes to Assorted Crisis Events, issue number 9, 32 pages, $5, and every page was amazing. We are introduced at first to the main character of this issue. Can't quite remember what his name is, but he goes onto this job hunting app called Temp. He signs up for this place, and it turns out that you can die here, and he signs up as a violence specialist in King Kronos' Cross-Time Legion, whatever it is. And when he gets there, there's already people shooting at his feet, and somebody gets their head slashed off, and he meets his boss, who is named Lou. And his name is Chucky, the main character. And it really is a parody on how hard it is to get a job in the real life. That is basically how Denise Camp wrote this book. It is a little political, but if you disagree with what they're saying in this book, personally, you can just go away from my channel. I don't want you here, because this is really happening in this world and in our reality that we are living right now. It's super hard to get a job. Time is money. That is stressed throughout this entire book, that you have to get a job. You can't waste any of your time. You can't have fun because time is money. You have to get as much money as possible in order to live a good life. Anyways, they keep going through these extreme trials, and then he keeps getting told these side hustles to make even more money because taxes come in and he doesn't end up with the paycheck that he dreamed that he was going to have. And it just keeps getting worse and worse, these different side hustles, whether it's dating, building a pyramid in Egypt. It was just absolutely insane. And when you get to the end, he starts to drink, going out with friends, starting to really not care too much because he keeps sending money back to presumably his sister who's living on his own. And it wasn't a happy ending for the main character in this story, Chucky, or even Lou, because something bad happens to Lou. And the ending, talking about people selling each other out because they need the money, that was fantastic, because throughout the book, Chucky is thinking about giving this complaint on the app about his hiring experience. Lou keeps stressing not to do that. Chucky does do it, and what happens from then, you're gonna have to read this to find out. This is easily pick of the week for indies, Assorted Crisis Events. it's just fantastic. The last 2 issues of this have been probably the best 2 issues of the year, potentially. Me personally, no, but you could definitely make the argument that they are. But Assorted Crisis Events, my top pick for the independent comics. Now heading over to Marvel, we have not as many. We only have 4 books to talk about. Starting off with the book at the bottom, we have Fantastic Four issue 14. 32 pages, $5 for this comic book. Written by Ryan North. The artist is Rosanis. Can't quite remember the first name of the artist. His name is Ramon Rosanis. This is a one-shot little story arc, and it focuses on Joe and, sorry for getting the other person's name, Nikki, the Kree and Kree and Skrull kids of Ben Grimm and Alicia. Essentially, all the Fantastic Four and all of the world are kind of mesmerized looking at this computer, and it's tricking their brain, making them go crazy. It gets compared to Poison Ivy, how it's a faulty thing of evolution, how it only affects humans. Most other animals unless you're a guinea pig or other types of smaller rodents, it doesn't affect the animals that eat it or walk through it, but it's affecting humans only. As you can tell by the Kree and the Skrull kid being perfectly fine. And they went in way too deep into the history of pi and why pi is amazing. Pi as in the mathematical term pi, because that's the letters or the numbers that are showing up on the screens. They try to, basically, they're trying to solve for pi, even though pi is infinite. So they're just keep doing all these multiple trillions of numbers, and I couldn't get into it. It was way too scientific and mathematician-y for me. So, end of the day, they decided to go back in time, change it so that they work on base 10 instead of base 12, because then everything will be fine, and it ended up perfectly okay. It was all right, nothing too crazy. I still do like this run. It's just one of those books where Ryan North decided to fully geek out, and it wasn't for me. Fantastic Four, I gave a C+. There's definitely a world where somebody's going to love that, somebody that is also obsessed with pi, but me personally, it wasn't for me. Next, going over to Captain America, it's issue 13, Hell's Angel Part 2. This had Captain America, Steve Rogers, still in a coma. Spider-Man Peter Parker goes to talk to him, and while he's in a coma, Sharon Cooper is there, basically saying that she needs to take some time off, go home, sleep in her own bed, because she's been there for so many days. And then we have Red Skull getting recruited by Mephisto with this other character. I'm not quite sure what his name is. I think his name is Fraulein, but it was honestly not that good of a book for me personally. And I say that because there was barely any fight with Red Skull and Captain America. We go throughout this, Victor Von Doom, Steve Rogers, they're just trying to recruit their way through, try to get an army to go against Mephisto. They meet this preacher who goes by the name of Torzov, and he's kind of like some preacher, messiah. Can't believe that he's in hell for whatever reason. Mephisto finds it funny, and he also finds it funny that Red Skull thinks that he's been trapped here by Mephisto because he's supposed to be in heaven, because he's basically all the racist reasons, right? Because he's a pure Aryan and stuff like that. That was interesting. He, meanwhile, recruits his own little Nazi army to go up against Steve Rogers, and Steve goes on this mission, gets trapped looking for this weapon that can defeat Mephisto. It doesn't go too well, but it ends up going all right. We meet a character. I'm actually not going to show you because I feel like that's a pretty big spoiler. All in all, this book was all over the place for me, and it did not get me to want to continue Avengers Armageddon, to be personal with you. I will, because it's such a huge event for Marvel, and I'm hoping that it can live up to the hype that it had. But Captain America issue 13 comes in at 3rd place for me for Marvel and is a B- comic. Coming in at number 2, we have Avengers Armageddon. Yet again, this is the SDNA blue block color variant. I thought it was pretty damn cool. Anyways, we continue with Red Hulk. just trying to create new Avengers and create havoc on the world. It was basically that over and over and over in this issue. And we have Russia trying to get involved. They're trying to make sure that everything goes well for them, trying to make sure that the Hulks can be calm or try to contain it anyways. And David Colton comes through and he has a lot of pent-up aggression towards Thunderbolt Ross because he was his Captain America. Whenever Thunderbolt Ross became general, he made David Colton Captain America, brought all this pain and suffering into his life because the super soldier serum turned his heart basically to nothing and made it very difficult to live a normal life for David Colton. And the Avengers are trying to stop him because he's nearly killing Red Hulk. You get Bucky there who threatens to potentially kill him if he doesn't let up on Thunderbolt Ross. David keeps going. Tony shows up there. David Colton breaks his armor, telling him we wouldn't be here in the first place if y'all would have just killed him a long time ago. And he does have a good point, but you shouldn't kill people. It's not a good thing. You want to hope that everybody can turn for the better with rehabilitation. Anyways, Thunderbolt Ross gets captured by the Russians, and where this book left off, it's basically thrown up into the air of what's going to happen to the world. Tony sees what Thunderbolt Ross sees, and what is that going to do to Tony? Who knows? Because this was all initially started because Thunderbolt Ross got a peek into a possible future, and that made him think that he needs to take over the world and make New America and massacre Latveria or whatever you want to say. So this book was all right, wasn't anything too crazy. Avengers Armageddon issue 2 was a B for me. Still looking for a lot of hype with that. I'm hoping that it can propel forward, and I do have faith in Chip Zdarsky to do that. But my top pick for Marvel was the Infernal Hulk issue number 9. Just want to say, Bruce Banner, you are one cheeky dude. He goes to Dr. Voodoo, and Dr. Voodoo basically knows why he's there, calls him an addict because he misses the Hulk. It's kind of funny. If only I could destroy this part of myself I hate. If only I could stop drinking, fighting, smoking. I'm a good person. It isn't me who hurt those people. It is my monster inside me that does it. I did like the comparisons of saying how Bruce Banner needs the Hulk to addicts, basically saying they need alcohol, they need to smoke, they need this, they need that. I really did like that comparison. Anyways, they go to the living city, or not the living city. Instead, Dr. Voodoo transport Bruce Banner to the realm where he gave up his Hulk body, which is where the character of Shayalum, I always forget how to say his name. Anyways, they go where he lives and they bargain. And Bruce Banner wants to do a riddle battle. They fight some monsters to get there. They have to try to reason with him at first because he wants to just kill Bruce and kill Dr. Voodoo. But then Bruce Banner challenges him to a riddle game, and he gives an offer that is way too enticing for Shayalum to take. I believe that's his name. Let me know if I'm wrong down in the comments. I didn't read a whole lot of the Incredible Hulk series. I kind of just jumped on with Infernal Hulk, and I'm going to try to just go from there. But anyways, top pick for Marvel, the Infernal Hulk. What Bruce Banner gives potentially to Shayalum if he loses the riddle game is going to be interesting. Can't wait to see how this wraps up because I believe issue 10 is the finale. But Infernal Hulk gets a B+ for me and is my top pick for Marvel for this week. Next, we go over to DC, and coming in at the bottom of 4 books is Lobo, issue number 5. I still love this book. I still think it's worth every bit of the money that it costs because of Jorge Corona's artwork alone. But this issue was really fun. Lobo is at the beginning getting flirted with by this woman, but little does he know that a bounty has been put on his head by his former boss, Mr. Gzt. It's KZZT, kind of hard to say. Anyways, this woman comes in and starts flirting with him, and Lobo's trying to get Dog out of the room because he thinks something's about to go down, and something is about to go down. But instead, she tries to kill him, not knowing that Lobo is literally an immortal being, or whatever you want to say, an immortal person. And he ends up blowing her up with a bomb that comes from his belt buckle near his crotch. Pretty funny. And then these people show up saying, hey, that was kind of crazy. we're going to try to kill you, but without all the flirting. Just good jokes were in this book by Scotty Young. It made it very entertaining. Like I said, whenever I'm about to read this book, Lobo is just a really great palate cleanser with all the dark and deep stuff or even emotional stuff that you can be reading nowadays in comics. This just completely makes you laugh. It makes you happy again. So that's why I do enjoy this book each and every month that it does come out. Anyways, Lobo still keeps going even though these people are hired to come after him. He then finds out there's a bounty put on his head by Mr. Kutz, and they basically bargain again, and it looks like they're all good. And it seems that Lobo is going to do a job for Mr. Kutz for a whole boatload of cash, and he's going to go see the Tooth Fairy. Can't wait to see how that goes down, because they were saying that these smiles are huge and how having a great smile is huge for the industry, which is true. But Lobo, issue number 5, a solid B, always a fun read each and every month. Next, coming in at 3rd place, we have Absolute Green Arrow, issue number 3. Now, you might think this is a little low. Well, this book is starting to get a little stale. It seems like there were just a lot of talking heads in this book. Dinah talking through all her emotions right now, all her thoughts going in her head, trying to find out who Roy Harper is after she ends up finding him, and how the Green Arrow killer is kind of just still unknown to her, and she can't believe this. Do want to say huge congrats to Absolute Green Arrow for getting extended to 12 issues. That's pretty huge. Anyways, Dinah goes to Roy Harper, finds this archer bow this bow, and she starts to interrogate him, thinking that he might be the Absolute Green Arrow killer. Anyways, now the news is starting to say, well, how are people actually sympathizing with this Green Arrow killer? He's killing these people, but people are resonating with his idea because he's killing these people that are terrible. They're these corrupt billionaires that try to run society, and they're the 1% that does whatever they want and they get away with it. And then you come to find out that Roy Harper has definitely been using drugs in this world. He's going crazy. Dinah says, yeah, you're out of here. But Roy Harper used to be really close with Oliver Queen. He thinks that he's still alive and that Hector Hammond is actually keeping Oliver enclosed. And they go and they see these experiments that these people were doing, trying to resuscitate people. Absolutely just crazy stuff happening in this issue. But the ending was really good. We get introduced to another Absolute character, growing the everlasting roster of DC in the Absolute universe. This was solid. Absolute Green Arrow gets a B+ for me. Issue 3, definitely going to continue with the series, especially because it's got extended to 12 issues. Coming in at number 2 for DC, we have End of Life, issue number 6, 32 pages, $4 for this comic book. Another Kyle Starks book. Actually, I think the Lobo book, yeah, that's Scotty Young. Sorry, I think I might have been calling that Kyle Starks. Anyways, Kyle Starks in this issue has a great job of balancing emotion with humor. And it starts off with Eddie basically complaining to Leona the whole time because he's been shacked up in her bunker or her gas station home that she lives in with her kid Trent. She then throws him out because he was complaining too much. We get an update on Mr. Smiley, how he's hired this new guy, Niels, who is a small person who loves to have fun with things. Let's just put it at that. No matter who they are. His new task is to go after Eddie. George then finds out that Eddie actually never left town and he's been living at the gas station. So he is going to go to the gas station to try to get that whole situation taken care of. And then we find out that the Menageries are all going crazy because Eddie Stallion is still on the loose. He's killing their hitman, and there might be a Menagerie civil war about to happen. Anyways, the story continues, and when Eddie is about to get a bus ticket potentially, Sophie shows up and asks, are you going to leave again? And it was actually really sad because Eddie never said goodbye to her when he first left the town way back when as a kid. But now he's there, and she asks if he wants to go for coffee the next morning because she likes having him around, and that absolutely lifts Eddie Stallion's spirits in the sky. She makes him promise that he's going to be there, and safe to say, he ain't gonna be there. He gets whacked upside the head after Niels was hiding in this box, and Eddie Stallion couldn't help but look inside it. And we meet one of Niels' friends, Rumpelmint, and it seems like they're gonna have a lot of fun with Eddie Stallion. Can't wait to see how this concludes. It's an 8-issue miniseries under the DC Vertigo label. End of Life, always a ton of fun. Starting to feel really for Eddie Stallion, because maybe he was going to get his life turned around and go on that date with Sophie, and everything was going to be up and shiny from then. But going to have to hit a few roadblocks along the way. But my top pick for DC this week was an absolute title, Absolute Flash, issue 17. This book just had one of the most unexpected turns that I could have seen. But we start off seeing how the Rogues got into this fort that Gorilla Grodd has been hiding up in, or shacking up in, with his father. And we see the path that Trickster took to get there, because she was the character with her knife to the throat of Grodd, threatening to kill him, not knowing that Grodd had a father. And Wally and Linda are telling Trickster to, hey, you need to stop doing that. That's not him doing that. That's his father. Trickster says, look, our mission is to kill Grodd. I need to do this. But she doesn't. But the Rogues then show up, because they're not being mind controlled by the father Grodd, and they start going crazy. Wally speeds around, shocks the whole room, gets some additional powers, and learns how to do a shocking blast, or whatever you want to call it. Not quite sure what it's called. But then Gorilla Grodd's dad is shown mind controlling all these people, and he tries to mind control Wally and Linda, but Grodd tells him that no, they're actually good people. And whenever he calms down, something unexpected happens that is probably going to change how Grodd feels about humans. And it was the most shocking thing that has happened in this book, and that's a huge reason for why it gets pick of the week. Absolute Flash, an A- comic book this week. Fantastic. Jeff Lemire, you are really starting to cook. Absolute Flash is 1000% in my top 3 now. It is just charging to the top, and it really has a chance to be the best book going in the Absolute line. That is why Absolute Flash issue 17 is my pick of the week for DC. Now, just got to find out what my top pick was for my buy or sell video. These were the issue 1s, 5 of them that came out this recent new comic book week, and I said whether they are worth a buy or a sell. Those books were Banana number 1. We had Minotaur issue 1, definitely not going to be that book. We have Kingdom of Earth, solid book, but wasn't my favorites. Or What If Jessica Jones, probably the worst What If title right now, even though it was only the second. But my pick of the week for the buy or sell video is gotta go to Super Mondo Mega Mutts. I just love this book so much. It was absolutely fantastic. And finally, here we are at the end of the video. Still got to decide that pick of the week. Is it going to be Marvel's Infernal Hulk? Is it going to be the Indies Image Assorted Crisis Events? Is it going to be DC's Absolute Flash? Or is it going to be the buy or sell videos Super Mondo Mega Mutts? And I love this book so much. It blew my socks off. It was emotional. The humor was there. The action was there. The gore was there. There was nothing wrong with this book. A perfect 5 out of 5. That, of course, goes to Super Mondo Mega Mutts, my pick of the week for July 15th, 2026's new comic book day. But guys, let me know down in the comments what your pick of the week is. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe if you made it all the way to the end of this video. But remember, keep reading those comics panel by panel. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.